Welcome to Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Your home for the latest news from the National Lacrosse League and indoor lacrosse. Now, let's talk some lacrosse with your hosts, Jake Elliott and Evan Schemenauer.
What's going on, lacrosse fans? It's Lacrosse Classified. It's Tuesday, and you got it right here on the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network. This is episode number 58. My name is Jake Elliott, and I'm also joined by my co-host in Saskatoon, freezing Saskatoon, I might add. It's Evan Schemenauer. Evan, let's get you in right off the top. Welcome back, episode 58. We got a great show coming at you here. Number 98 from your New England Black Wolves, the man they call Showtime, Calum Crawford, will join us. Lots to talk about with Calum. And then from the Vancouver Warriors, Keegan Bal, first-timer on Lacrosse Classified, will join us a little bit later on. Evan, welcome back. Looking forward to this program. Crawford, Bal, who we had, who you got. Somebody did a little bit better than somebody else this week. Things are going well. I just got myself out of the gym, as I always do here on a Monday, Evan, and the scale today read exactly 300.0 pounds as I strive for 299. I can't get any closer, man, but I'm fired up here for Lux Class today. What's going on?
You didn't cut boxing weight just to tip the scale a bit.
I tried. I didn't get there, though. I was thinking that today could be the day, and maybe tomorrow will be the day.
Well, I was laughing when you arrived in Saskatoon because it's minus 28. It's December. It's Saskatoon. What do you expect? And you are just complaining to death as to how can anybody possibly survive in this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different than what it is here. I mean, not even cold-wise, the kind of cold that it is. I went on Lax Sportsnet earlier today, and I described the cold there in Saskatoon like getting punched in the face with an icicle. That was my analogy.
Well, we got to just toughen you up a bit here.
Yeah, I suppose. I need to buy a coat. Is what I need to do.
Just have it way too easy.
Yeah,
you gotta,
I need to buy a coat. Is what I need to do. All right, quit stalling, Evan. It's time to get to who we had, and I know why you're stalling because things didn't go very well for you in who we had in Week 3 of the National Lacrosse League. Week 4 is a light one here. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But who we had coming up, and they are presented by Stampede Tack and Western Wear. More than just boots there at Stampede. They got Wrangler jeans. The deal, Evan, has been extended through December the 24th. Get $10 off any men's or women's pair of Wrangler jeans when you shop online at stampede.ca. Pick up some, still time to get your Wranglers before Christmas, Evan, in case you're not done your holiday shopping yet.
I'm done months in advance. The fact that I picked up 2 tiny articles on Saturday was a shock that it took me that long.
Speaking of picking up articles, I picked up a bunch of articles at the Rush Team Store over the weekend. All sorts of good. It's almost like it's a problem how much stuff that they have in there because you can't decide on what you want to walk out with.
But I know what you want to walk out with. Did Danny not get the memo as to what to buy you for Christmas yet?
What's
the
that?
Tractor jersey.
Yeah, it's. I was looking at it. We'll see. I really like those 5th year anniversary jerseys too. So that's it made my decision a little bit tougher, but we'll see. Okay, who we had, Evan? Week 3 of the National Lacrosse League took place just a couple of days ago. Started out with Philadelphia getting off their schedule off and running here with their first game of the season. They had to go down to Georgia, not an easy place to go play your first game of the year. Take on the Georgia Swarm, and as expected in this one, all Georgia, all Lyle Thompson, 12-6 the final in this one.
You had to expect this a bit. Now, luckily, Zach Higgins, Tendy Bear, actually held them in it for a while. You know, it's 1-0 for the longest time. And fortunately, he didn't get injured when he collided with Lyle Thompson. But, yeah, it was just pure dominance by Georgia all around. Now, they have not allowed – they allowed 4 goals in their first one. They allowed 6 in their second. Granted, against a team that's an expansion team and one that's a second-year team. But maybe we've got to give this Georgia defense and goaltending a little more respect. Well, we respect Georgia goaltending. But the defense, maybe you got to give them a little more respect than we initially thought we would.
Yeah, absolutely. And was it Adam or was it Time Arrow who posted up the stat about the Georgia Swarm goaltending? And where I'm going with that is Mike Poulin becoming what we believe, Evan, or what they believe, and I tend to believe it too, the first goaltender in NLL history to record 2,000 saves with 2 different teams.
Yeah, and it was Adam that posted it up, and it doesn't surprise me because you got to keep in mind some of those other guys we were trying to fall back to, they played in a lot of 8-game games.
Yeah. Like, so we were. I was thinking because the records get a little sketchy as you go back, and I was thinking maybe like Steve Dietrich or Pat O'Toole or even Anthony Cosmo, who's right up there in all-time saves. But it's hard to say because those teams were only playing 8, 10, 12 games sometimes. So if you're out there, I know our buddy Graham is always listening. If you can prove that fact to be not true, bring it on. I'd like to see that. But we believe Mike Poulin might be the first goaltender in NLL history to record 2,000 saves for 2 different teams. So Georgia rolling over Philadelphia and the Swarm. I think you're right, man. Everybody was a little bit concerned. Well, I don't know if everybody and a little bit concerned. I don't know, man. Like, this Georgia team is good. And I think where I'm going with this is if people were thinking if there's a weak spot on their team, it might be their defense, but that really doesn't seem to be the case.
No, Iraq, that's a few goals up. And Mike Poulin is playing, a lot better than he has the last several years. Starting at the World Championships, he's really picked up his game.
I mean, Man Cup before that as well, Evan. So he was playing pretty good rolling in to the World Championships, and no sign of slowing down for Pooley. So that's good to see. One of the real good guys in the league as well. New England with that week 2 victory over the Toronto Rock on the road opened a lot of people's eyes, and then it was okay. Fair enough. Can they go into Saskatchewan, though, and back it up? Yourself and myself decided that wasn't going to be the case, but the New England Black Wolves decided it didn't matter what we thought, Evan, as they go on and beat the Rush, spoil their home opener, 12-8, the exact same score they beat the Toronto Rock by, the final here, and what was a stunned SaskTel Center.
And a quiet SaskTel Center. We'll get into the attendance issue maybe a little later because it's not just a Saskatchewan thing, but I'll just put it straight out there. This was the worst performance by the Saskatchewan Rush since they moved to Saskatoon. Easy. And it wasn't the defense. It wasn't the offense. Everybody across the board was not ready to play that game. Now, if we look at Rush had scored 6 goals before they started pulling the goaltender towards the end. At that point, they had 3 transition goals, 2 of them by my man Kyle Rubish, who did not stick around the pub long enough for me to buy him those beers. So
he's going to let them pile up a little bit, Evan. He's going to let them stack up. Yeah.
We were talking about this with Bruce Urban after the game that Kyle Rubish was your leading scorer with 4 minutes to go in the game. That should tell you just how bad of an effort went on here. There were 3 transition goals, 1 on a penalty shot, 1 on a deflected pass that just happened to fall into Mark Matthews' stick, and 1 on an actual set play.
Yeah, it was.
That just is not going to cut it. But on the other side of things, you and I both saw this. What Ryan McLean was doing out there, he embarrassed himself. It was just. He was so far out of position and getting picked up at this restraining line and not being able to recover.
Yeah, listen,
I don't know why
want
he's still out there.
I don't want to pile on Ryan McLean here on this podcast. I think, we're aware it was a tough game for him. I think he's aware. I think the coaching staff's aware. It was a tough game, and players will go through that. So let's leave that at that. But and listen, it's not all on 65 and green and black there, Evan. You had zeros across the board for Robert Church, Ben McIntosh, Ryan Keenan, Marty Dinsdale, and you're not winning any game when you do that. And I mean, it wasn't a great performance, but on the flip side of things, instead of maybe focusing on how off the rush were, let's talk about the Black Wolves, because it's looking like Toronto was no fluke here either. And Dougie Jamieson looks like he is ready to take the next step and become into the conversation of
for sure
some of the best goaltenders in the league here. This kid is ready to go this year, and the Black Wolves play a pretty entertaining brand of lacrosse, and I think they're full marks for their 2-0 start.
They are, and that defense had a hell of a performance. Dougie Jamieson, what was he, 843 on the night. And, yeah, a lot of them were long-range shots, but you stop what's thrown at you, right? But the defense was not giving the Rush anything inside. They were forcing them to shoot these low-percentage shots, so full marks for them for their performance.
Yeah, and I think, the shots for those guys on the Rush offense were just a touch off, and a good goaltending performance will do that. Instead of just kind of picking a side, you're starting to trying to pick corners and gripping it a little tighter, and it just wasn't Saskatchewan's night in that one. But I don't want to take anything away from New England, because I think they totally earned that victory. On Saturday night, they're at SaskTel Center. 2 more games to go in who we had here. So we were both 1-1 on the evening so far here, Evan. Vancouver hosting the New York Riptide, and word coming down just before this game starting that number 1 overall draft pick Tyson Gibson, a healthy scratch in Vancouver. Mitchell Jones goes off for 9 points, hitting the 300-point plateau. Vancouver gets an important home win. Not just a win, but a home win, Evan. 14-10 over the Riptide, who looked much better than they did in their opening game against Halifax as well.
Yeah, and of course our guest Keegan Bal got 8th on the night. So
2 and 6 for my man Baller, yes.
Yeah. So Connor Kelly actually was the guy that picked this offense up, and he was finding the holes. He was getting around guys, getting sidewinders through there. That really started to help the Riptide off quite a bit. But I hate to say this, but this was probably the first time I ever say that a team faced a must-win game in their second game of the season.
Yeah.
And this was really a must-win for the Warriors, because they start with 3 at home. This was the easiest of the 3. They lost the first one, and you got to be able to pick up these wins against these expansion teams to have any chance of making the playoffs, to get that hometown crowd coming back. Hopefully they saw enough offense, and hopefully they're going to be back for the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. They got 4 goals out of fireman Jordan McBride. They got 4 points out of fireman Matt Beers there on Heroes Night, First Responders Night. So an important win there. Got a bobblehead. Danny came home with a Matt Beers bobblehead for me from the Warriors game as well. So winners all around. And that's, again, it's one thing to win. It's another to win at home. And that's all this Vancouver fan base wants, Evan, is they just want to go to the game and know they got a chance to win every night. And if they can get some wins at home, fans are going to go watch those Warriors play. I'm convinced of it. And Canucks Sports and Entertainment and the Warriors, I think, since arriving there at Rogers Arena, have done everything in their power to get fans out to that building and watch those guys play. And now it's up to the players to make good on it, and they did that against the Riptide. last weekend. They'll be back in action end of the month as they take on the San Diego Seals. It is. We're going to also talk about that. They're going to play again down in San Diego, Evan, and it's not going to be your ordinary lacrosse game here. We'll talk about that a bit later. But December the 29th, I believe, Sunday afternoon for Seals and Warriors, their next home game at Rogers Arena. We both took the Warriors in that game, Evan, so we both got it right, both 2-1. With one game to go here on who we had, and it was Toronto at San Diego. And now refresh my memory here, Evan. Who did you take?
I took a team that now we're even in the overall standings.
And which team was that?
Yeah, you want to keep bragging? Go ahead. I care less. I got one wrong for a change.
You took San Diego. I took Toronto. A convincing 13-6 victory for the Rock as I go 3-1. You go 2-2. That means we are once again tied in the standings at 7-3. And you get to host this week, but only 2 games on the docket here. And I'm almost tempted to go against one of your picks just so I can host the following week. Stay with me.
Well, you got to pick first. So
I know, but I might just pick it. I might just take a flyer here. And if I get it right, so be it. But there are 7 games coming up in Week 5, Evan, and I think hosting in Week 5 is going to be a big advantage. Anyways, so what?
Getting back to this game here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Let's talk about this game.
First off, Nick Rose came back from a poor performance in his opening game. He stopped. What was it? He stopped 52 of 58. So fabulous performance. Here's one thing I hate about the NLL stats is that Nick DeMoot is going to get nailed with the loss in this game because he allowed the 7th goal. But he played 43 minutes of this game, right? It wasn't on him. But here's the problem when you're looking at San Diego is Connor Fields got 2, Westberg got 4, and everybody else got goose eggs, including Zach Greer, who had 15 shots. Buchanan had 14 shots. Yeah, they're all goose eggs. Now Noble only had 2 shots, right? But if you're taking double-digit shots on goal, you got to score at least one. You can't go bagels like that. No, and I think this is a little bit concerning that where was this performance from the prior week in Buffalo, where you're flying halfway across the continent? You come home. This is another team that needs these home wins because hometown, the attendance has struggled coming down the stretch of last year into San Diego. I mean, they were offering 2 tickets and 4 beers for $29 to come in and watch this, and this is what they got to see. They need a better performance at home than this.
Well, I know Mama Rogers, Challen's mom, was down in San Diego to watch, and she was quite happy about what she saw. So, as was I with that big Toronto victory that pulls us back even in Who You Got standings. The winner of Who You Got Week 3, Mark Andresi. And he even told us how to pronounce his name properly, Evan. Mark Andresi with the win. Now, break this down here for the listeners, Evan, because this was pretty crazy how this all played out right down to the tiebreakers.
Yeah, because only 10% of people, 11 out of 108, took San Diego to win. So the second New England to win. So the second that happens, now all of a sudden, we've pretty much cleared most of the people out of the way, and only 4 people went 4-0. So I'm looking at this like, okay, somebody gets even reasonably close to the combined goal total, they'll win the week. Well, I go and take a look at it. The combined goal total was 81, and 2 people not only went 4-0 but had 81, right?
It gets crazier. It gets crazier.
Who do they got as their top goal scorer? Well, both of them got Lyle Thompson. Okay. So guess what? Whoever got it in first got to win, and that's the way it works.
And it even gets a little crazier than that because...
And that the guy that was the other one in was in tie for first place with the one that won last week, and he's 10-0 right now.
Brian Lively.
And who you got overall? It's crazy. Yeah.
So just to recap that, out of 108 people, 4 people got every game correct. Out of those 4 people, 2 people guessed the exact amount of goals that would be scored in week 3. Out of that, they both picked Lyle Thompson to be the top scorer. So it came down to who got their pick in sooner. But with that being said, it was almost the guy who won the previous week. I mean, you can't write that stuff up. By the way here, Evan, I've been talking to some of the boys here on the road over the weekend. I know we got some players that like to listen to the podcast, which is awesome. I love that the players are into it and are listening, but they're a little trepidatious to put their picks down on record. And I want to make this clear. Like, we will announce the winner if they want us to announce the winner. If you don't want your name announced or to see your name in the standings or whatever, you can always change your name to whatever you want. So only you would know, or maybe just Evan and I would know. But Evan is literally the only guy that looks at the standings. And we will, and like I said, announce the winner unless you say, listen, thanks for winning, but I don't want my name out there. Yeah. No problem. But I don't, like, where I'm going here, Evan, is I don't want players or coaches or general managers to be worried about playing who you got because maybe they pick against a team that their own team. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think guys would do that. I think they're going to bet on themselves every single time, and it's not like you're laying down money here or anything. So I don't know. I want everybody to be able to participate and have fun. So if you want to put down something anonymous that nobody is going to know about, and it gives you an opportunity to play, it's just Evan that actually gets to see the document. So you got nothing to worry about in that regard. Did I explain that properly?
Yeah, exactly. It's the name and the email, which are the first 2 things. The only person that gets to see that data is me. Okay. So if you're a league official or whatever, you know, it's going to be pretty clear in your email address who you are.
Yeah. So I mean, you can just create a fake email account.
Hush.
Yeah. Or if if you're that concerned, just make up a bogus email account and use a fake name. But again, you're secure here on Lacrosse Class. It's called Lacrosse Classified, for heaven's sakes, Evan. If we can't keep that stuff a secret, then what are we doing, really?
Yeah, and here's an even crazier thing. You remember where Mike is from, right? That's how far our
Florida. Mark. You're talking about Mark.
Florida.
Mark.
Sorry. Yeah. He's from Florida.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And me sitting here in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia is about as far away from Florida as you can get as far as North America goes. So pretty cool. And again, thanks to everybody that has signed up so far. We're up over 100 people now on a consistently weekly basis. We want to grow that number. Doesn't matter if you haven't played before. You can still sign up, win weekly prizes, and you can still catch up and still win that grand prize as well. But going up against my man Brian here, who's 10-0, you don't want to wait any longer to get on board for who you got here. And chance to win some pretty cool prizes from Stampede Tack, including the grand prize of a Blundstone prize pack valued over $300. Only right here on Lax Class. Evan, huge opening segment right there. We got to get to quarter number 2. Showtime from the New England Black Wolves is on the other side. Calum Crawford will join us. Keep it right here on Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Pure Vita Labs is proud to bring you the highest quality sports supplements on the market. PVL products are 100% all natural with no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. And the entire line is also Informed Choice certified. We designed all our products with the athlete in mind. We look forward to being a part of your athletic achievements, helping you push the bar higher, win at the highest levels, and set personal records for years to come.
This is Ryan Benesh of the Halifax Thunderbirds. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified. right here on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. You just heard from our friends at Pure Vital Labs. Hashtag powered by PVL. And a man that is powered by PVL himself joining the program once again. It's showtime, Calum Crawford. Cal, thanks for joining us once again here on Lax Class. How are you?
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Always my pleasure, Callum. Good to see you over the weekend there in freezing cold Saskatoon. Now, I saw you kind of the morning of game day, and I went over and said hi, and you were having breakfast. I said, how's it going? And you said, I'm exhausted. Excuse me. And I said, why is that? He goes, well, you tell. You give the people the route that you had to take from where you reside to get to Saskatoon.
Well, Tulsa, Oklahoma's got a tiny little airport, just like Saskatoon. It's difficult to get in and out of. And same thing at Saskatoon, small to get in and out of. So my day consists of a 11:30 a.m. flight to Atlanta, and then hour and a half layover in Atlanta, flight to Toronto, probably another hour and a half layover in Toronto, and then another 2-hour flight to Saskatoon. So my total travel time with everything was about 13, 14 hours.
Oh, did they not realize there's a flight out of Minneapolis to Saskatoon?
There is, but the problem is the time it got me into Minneapolis, I would have not made the flight to Saskatoon, so it didn't work out.
That's life in the NLL for people that don't know, and I mean you're not the only guy that's going through that on a week to week basis. So. Yeah, it's a bit of a grinder, but hey, man, like, listen, you come out, you put up 6 points in the first half, you got 3 and 3, and then and I don't know what happened, man. You tell me. You just kind of said, okay, 6 is enough for tonight. We got this, and just shut it down for the second half. What happened?
No, I definitely did not shut it down. I wish that was the case, and I was good enough to be able to do that. To be honest, I think they came out with a sense of urgency. They started pushing themselves pretty hard. They were ready for that second half. I think the goaltender came out and played really well, and we weren't putting it together like we were in the first half. And credits to them and being, they showed up and showed everybody the team that they've been all these years. I think they had a slow start in the first half, but made up for it in the second, obviously. And we just, I think we were tired. I'm not going to lie, even myself. That even the first quarter. They pressure you. They're big, strong bodies. I'm not gonna lie, I was gassed in that second half, and need to do a better job of keeping my win for full 4 quarters because they made me work, and that's what that defense does. Is it doesn't give you anything easy.
A year ago, you had a team where you had 2 starting goaltenders. You alternated almost every game. And now you, of course, lose Bouquet in the expansion draft. You got Douggie Jamieson. Everybody was thinking, where's this guy going to go this year? And he's done nothing but flourished. I mean, what can you say about the performance of Dougie the first 2 games?
Yeah, I wouldn't say everybody was thinking that. I was convinced and sold last year, and leading into this offseason, I was definitely told our GM, Rich Russ, that New England is in a great spot. They have a super young goalie who is not a free agent for, I want to say, like another 8 to 10 years, who's a starter in this league now. They don't have to
hang on, back up, Calum. Back up. You're telling me they've locked up, I didn't know this, they've locked up Douggie Jamieson for a decade?
No. I'm saying in our league, you're not unrestricted until you're like 30 or something. Okay. Until you're like 32 or something.
I thought there was like a Stainhouse Cody Jamieson contract out there for Doug Jamieson.
No. Not that he's locked up, but ultimately we're locked up. We don't get to choose where we want to play and whatnot until we've reached a certain threshold age-wise.
Okay.
And, he doesn't reach that anytime soon. So they have the luxury of knowing they have a starter, and it's not a position they need to worry about anytime soon. That's a great thing, I think, for a program, especially in this league of all leagues. Is goaltending is the determining factor on championships, and they've got themselves in a good spot for a really long time with that goaltender. And it's not. I'm not saying this just after these 2 games. I was saying this last year and going forward. He's a stud, and he's going to continue to get better, and he's going to be doing it for a long, long time.
People have known about Doug Jamieson and what kind of goaltender he's going to be. He's won Minto Cups. He's plays for the Six Nations Chiefs. Like he's a top flight goaltender. I think it's just taken him a year or two to get his feet wet and figure out the smaller stick and the bigger nets a little bit. But you knew he was going to. But maybe talk about a couple of the guys on your team, Callum, that most guys wouldn't know about that you are. I always kind of trust your opinion on evaluating and players' talents. Give me a couple of guys in the Black Wolves that you think are kind of ready to be the next one.
Nick Chakowski. Obviously, I think I've already said that this year. Phenomenal athlete. Lacrosse IQ is ever growing, and he's starting to show it and put it together right now. I'm a huge fan. I've been a huge fan for since I've seen him play and got to play with him last year. So I think he's one that should be on people's radars. Another one that's been showing really, really well is Ty Logan. I think he's turning some heads, and I think he did it at the Iroquois Nationals in the World Championships and everything too. He, it's a great pickup and great evaluating from Glenn Clark and those guys, and he's showing how solid he is. To be honest, you can just keep going through our defense. I think Joe Nardella at the face-off X is giving us a new dynamic. And it's not just the face-offs. His level of compete all over the field. When he can play defense, and he's getting better and learning, and he wants to. He's not somebody who's just coming in and saying, I'm here to take face-offs. He's battling for ground balls. He wants to learn to play stellar defense, and he keeps getting better. Colton Walkerson, I think, has grown and getting a name, and he's starting to show how good he is. Mikey Byrne, who played in a game last weekend, to be honest, I was shocked at how awesome he was and picking up massive ground balls, running through 2 to 3 man pressures because they press you, and he stood out and played an incredible game. And honestly, the list goes really,
yeah. Like I was about to say, Callum, like you're listing off all these guys, and I'm thinking in my head, like these are all kind of very similar types of players that got young, athletic, fast guys that want to come out and work their tail off. And you got a big group of that type of player there in New England, which really entertains itself to be a fun brand to watch.
Yeah, I think, again, there's the Kyle Rubishes and the Graham Hossicks come around, once every however many years. And they're going to continue to trickle in and have locked down, I call them game changers, like those guys who we're going to remember forever within our sport, how they play defense. But you're not just going to have those players, and you're not going to have a team full of those players. But what you can have is a team full of athletic guys who are going to compete in every facet of the game and give you energy and put their bodies on the line. And, obviously we all wish the world was talking about us and recognizing the things that we do, but that drive to be recognized is enough to give you everything that you want as a team, as a teammate, and as a coach. I would think kids who wanting to prove themselves, not necessarily because they want recognition per se, but to show themselves that they belong and they can do this, and their drive to be a part of something special like a championship is what you want. And that's honestly what every single one of those kids are. There's nobody who's doing it just for themselves and to get there. Is they're contributing for the right reasons, and you can see it in the way they play and the amount of heart they leave on the floor.
A bit of an unusual stretch coming now for you in your schedule, that you've got the next 6 games out at the casino, 4 of them against your own division. And with being tied with Georgia right now in the standings, this must be a critical stretch for you if you want to push to get to that division title.
Yeah, for sure. I think we picked up 2 huge road wins against 2 incredible teams, and that's awesome. But if that is what we're hanging our hat on for the season, we're not going to go too far. So it's the next game. The next one is New York, and that's going to be a very explosive, hungry team that has the ability to outwork anybody on any night. And they're a team that's going to try to match kind of what we hang our hat on, and that is effort and passion. So I'm excited for it. So that's the next one. But yeah, for sure, every game is winnable and losable in this league, and we can put ourselves in a really good position if we can push through it and perform at home. We enjoy playing at home. We're taken care of really well at home, and I think history shows that I think New England does pretty well when they're playing at home. But it's the only way that's going to happen is if the same effort and the same approach that we just took in these next 2 games is how we play every single team.
Speaking with Callum Crawford of the New England Black Wolves and also of Tulsa Lacrosse. Callum, I don't know what the exact name of your company or what exactly, if you're involved with schools or if you have kind of a private company down there. I know Tulsa Lacrosse is booming, though, after speaking with you. Tell me about it. Like, I know you've been down there now a while with Ryan Fournier, kind of growing the game in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it's continuing to grow. Like, these are new avenues that are opening up to you to do different things down there. Update us on what's happening down in that area of the world as far as lacrosse goes.
Yeah, the sport is booming. It's growing like crazy. There's some great programs at the youth level, even competition for the club level that we do that are doing great things, introducing the sport and helping build from the grassroots up. Myself was recruited out here to take on a high school program with Ryan Fournier, and we also started our own club program called Impulse Lacrosse. The greatest part, and I think the part that it's exciting to see, is we have these Division I football prototype athletes here, and they're playing lacrosse, and helping them learn the higher level version of the sport, and then helping them get in front of coaches to see and showcase their athleticism. It's fun, and I think you're going to start seeing some Tulsa, Oklahoma kids at some pretty big special NCAA schools in the near future.
That's fantastic. One more here for you, Kat. Well, maybe two more, because I want to talk PVL with you, so get ready for that. But you're also a guy, and no matter where you've been in Minnesota or Colorado or Buffalo, as I rattle off all the teams that you've played for, Calgary, I think, in there as well, if I'm not mistaken. The footwear of Showtime, always a hot topic and always something I kind of keep an eye out for from year to year. You really like to show off your personality through your shoes. Now, the ones you were wearing on Saturday night, I don't know who's making these things or if they're custom Calum Crawford kicks or what. But lay it out for me. What are you sporting on those wheels of yours this season?
I'm rocking the New Balance Omni ones. They're actually the Kawhi Leonards. They've been dropping different colorways every other week. I've got a special home pair that will be not special in the sense of custom to me by any means. I'm not that high up on the totem pole for that company by any stretch, but I've got a pair that are going to be, up my usual alley of, shoe game, we call it. So I have a pair that are coming for home games that I'm going to wear, and I have the pair that I was wearing for the away games that I always am going to wear.
Okay. And lastly, Callum, obviously PVL, one of our proud sponsors here on Lax Class, and also you're under the umbrella as well. And I always like to ask guys when they come on, what's the latest product from Pure Vital Labs that you enjoy taking? What are you always packing around with you when you're traveling from Tulsa to wherever in the National Lacrosse League?
So I like a lot of people kind of watched the documentary Game Changers and drank the Kool-Aid. So I've been going primarily plant-based diet for almost 2 months now. So I've been heavy on the Plant Pro natural plant-based protein that PVL has, and they've helped the transition because that was the biggest part, is where am I getting my protein from? Am I getting enough of it? So their Plant Pro has been crucial to me sticking to my diet and making sure that I've got the fuel needed and it makes it convenient. So that part is always in my bag. I've always got that going around, and very thankful and grateful for being a part of PVL to have them helping me and support me.
No doubt about it. There you go. You just heard it right there. Check out the Plant Pro from Calum Crawford and Pure Vital Labs. Hey, great game over the weekend, Callum, and best of luck with your Black Wolves to keep it rolling. And we shall catch up again here on Lacrosse Classified sooner than later, I hope.
For sure. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. That was Callum Crawford. What is he, Evan? 15 years deep into the NLL, still cranking out 100 points a season. Pretty impressive stuff, and was on display again at SaskTel. The guy just doesn't seem to slow down.
It's way too early to start talking about the MVP race, but if you had a list of 10 or 12 guys, and he's got to be towards the top of that 10 or 12 guys, you got to start to look out now for the MVP at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I'm sure you want to ask it. I entertained asking about last year.
I didn't want to ask it, actually. It's old news.
Yeah, I think Callum wants to move on from that. I think we do as well. And I'll put it this way, talking with Callum away from, on the record sort of stuff, he felt absolutely sick about it. He's not a guy going out there looking to hurt guys, and I'm a big Brad Cree guy as well, and I'd like to think deep down that Brad knows that as well. It was a real poor judgment in a split second, and I think he feels absolutely awful about it, and I don't think you're ever going to see something like that happen from him again. So I just left it. I know you did too, and I'm kind of glad we did. It's time to move on from that. So that was a great convo with Calum Crawford. We're about to have another one here on Lacrosse Classified. First-timer on Lax Class, and a well-deserved one at that, I might add, Evan. Keegan Bal of the Vancouver Warriors is coming up next here on Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
A Vancouver Warriors game at Rogers Arena sounds like this.
Jones shoots and he scores! Diving effort from Mitch Jones.
Nothing's monotone.
Lee and Beers go crashing into the crease.
Nothing's boring.
Now we're going to have a fight. It's the captain squaring off.
And at Vancouver Warriors games,
Loads up.
Nothing's offside.
Tries a shot and he scores!
Experience it for yourself. Vancouver Warriors tickets are available now. Tickets starting from $19.95. Visit VancouverWarriors.com/tickets today.
This is Robert Church from the Saskatoon Rush. You're listening to Lax Class, your go-to source for all things NLL and box lacrosse.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified here on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Jake Elliott, Evan Schemenauer with you. This is episode number 58. You just heard from Callum Crawford, and you just heard from our friends at the Vancouver Warriors. That big win over the Riptide last weekend. Got a week off, and then it's a Sunday affair at Rogers Arena. Sunday fun day at the Warriors game. We're going to talk to the man who's going to be in that Warriors game coming up here momentarily in Keegan Bal. But you want to get yourself some tickets to Sunday Fun Day, call 604-899-4625. Option 1, you're probably going to get my man, the Chad. He'll hook you up, or you can visit VancouverWarriors.com. Get hooked up today. Go to a Warriors game. Have yourself some fun. You can have all sorts of fun. Why, Evan? Because nothing's offside at the Vancouver Warriors game. Keegan Bal joining the program now, and Keegan coming off an 8-point performance in that 14-10 victory over the New York Riptide. Keegan, first time on the program. Thanks for doing this, man. Welcome to Lax Class.
Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you. You must have been pretty excited Saturday night to get a home victory for those fans at Rogers Arena. I think that's so important for you guys, not only to get wins and get the right side of the win column there, but getting those victories at home. That's an important thing for the Warriors. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not wrong at all. I mean, I think it's important for us to, protect our home court and, just like you said, right, get as many wins as we can in front of the fans in Vancouver.
Wanted to go for the fans that may not know you as well into your backstory. A few years ago, you get cut from the league. You're playing in Senior B in St. Albert, which, of course, greatest Senior B program in the country. And then you get your chance with Dan Richardson back with the Warriors, and you made the most of it. Was there ever a time where you doubted that maybe you wouldn't get another shot?
Yeah, I think, once you're out of the league, there's always that doubt that goes through your mind that, maybe you don't get a call next year or you don't get a call again. So, no, that was always something that might have been in the back of my mind, but I tried not to focus on that.
Speaking with Keegan Bal here, and I always go back when I talk about you, Keegan, and the story that I want to go back even further than that, because you were drafted by the Toronto Rock, and in particular drafted by Terry Sanderson. And for people that don't know, historically and notoriously, the Toronto Rock do not draft Western players because they like all their players to be in market. But and especially back then, and for Terry to go out and select you, really kind of, it opened my eyes, because Terry really didn't miss on too many draft picks, and it just kind of took you longer for your path to get there, Keegan. But it was a long, hard road for you. Like, you had opportunities and just couldn't quite crack it. What do you think the difference was over the last couple of years, where we saw last season you put up a 14-point night, and you're consistently putting up 5-6 points a game now. Where did the tipping point happen? What was the turning point for you?
I think the biggest thing was opportunity last year, being, full-time player on the power play and just gaining confidence throughout the year. But, overall, I just kept working on my craft, and then every summer playing in St. Albert, and even though it's Senior B, getting to practice against guys like Ryan Dilks, Josh Sullivan, John Lintz, shooting on goalies like Aaron Bold. I think that had a big thing to do with my growth as well.
Now tell us about this workout regimen you have, because from what I've been told, you went into beast mode this summer in the gym. Tell us what you do to get game ready for the season.
I just noticed last year, probably my biggest weakness was my size and my strength. So this summer I worked hard at just trying to improve on that. And that included just going to the gym early in the morning for about 2 to 3 hours every day.
And were you working with a specific personal trainer at a specific gym? You want to give anybody a shout out or a plug that's helped you along?
I was lucky enough to work with actually an old friend of mine. His name's Casey Chin. He's an ex-CFL player.
Cool. I'm speaking with Keegan Bal here, and tell me about playing for the Warriors now, Keegan. Like, it's a different, obviously you spent a little time with the Stealth. This is next level here down at Rogers Arena, and having the Aquilini family behind this thing. It looks like you guys just get treated like gold down there. Talk about the experience and what it's like to play in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's amazing. First class organization from top to bottom. Since day one, since training camp of last year, we've been treated exceptionally. When we travel, all the gear that we get, everything's done for us, and couldn't ask to be in a better situation.
Of course, the news coming out this morning that you're going to get to play an outdoor game in San Diego in a couple months. Have you ever played a competitive game of box lacrosse outside the pickup game outdoors ever?
No, I'm really excited. It'll be a completely different experience. Obviously, growing up in the Lower Mainland playing minor lacrosse, we would practice outside, and when we were really young, we'd play some games outside. But no, never had that opportunity. So I think it should be a lot of fun.
Back when you had to wear knee pads and stuff because you were falling on the graded concrete. I remember it well. As we speak with Keegan Bal here, I want to go back to the early days of this season, Keegan, and of course Biz Nasty. We got to talk about Biz Nasty here for a second. You were a big part of the big video where you took him to school one-on-one. You beat him. You left him in the dust. You pumped in the goal. But in all serious here, Keegan, like, how cool was it to have Paul Bissonnette going through the paces with you guys, kind of getting a lesson on what it was like to play pro lacrosse, and then to be around a guy that's, honestly, he's a social media mogul. It looked like a pretty fun time there with Biz Nasty 2.0.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun experience. He's a really good guy and fit in immediately in the room. So, you know what, that was a lot of fun. And then filming on the floor was great with him. He didn't know much about lacrosse, how to hold a stick, how to pass or shoot. So it was a good time.
Now Nicky, walk me through this thing, because it looked to me like Bissonnette was probably like to Nick and said, like, okay, like, don't let up, take me in here pretty good. And Nick was like, okay, I'm gonna. But then it almost looked like he tried to help Nick make it look good, and then it looked like, whoa, that was really bad.
Yeah, we were all on the other side of the floor looking at it, and kind of worried, like maybe he's actually hurt.
Yeah,
lying down on the turf there.
Seriously, he went down pretty hard.
He went down real hard.
Yeah. He got back up. He was great, and he'll be back for Hawaiian night at the Warriors game. But Keegan, I always like to ask first timers that I talk to here on Lax Class about their number and why they chose the number that they wear on their back.
Growing up, I was always number 9, and actually when I came out to Alberta for work and started playing for St. Albert, number 9 was taken. So I always been a big fan of Michael Jordan, and we wore number 45 one year. So I switched to 45, and ever since then I've just worn it.
So Michael Jordan, but instead of choosing 23 Michael Jordan, you go 45 Michael Jordan. Post-retirement. That's interesting. Okay.
You're in a tough division. It's going to be a tough run all year to try and make the playoffs. What do you think the Warriors got to continue to keep doing well or got to do better to make the playoffs this year?
I think we have to be consistent. I mean, we play, like you said, in a very good division. So in order for us to leapfrog some of those teams, I think we can't take any shifts off. We can't take any quarters off. And then that all starts with our training and our practice, right? I think guys are really dialed in this year. So for the most part, I think we have the talent. We got to stay consistent and be consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think your depth a whole lot better this year as well, Keegan. That's going to make a difference for you. Hey, I appreciate your time coming on Lacrosse Classified here. Nice win over the Riptide. You got a week off. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and then best of luck against those San Diego Seals on Sunday Fun Day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being on the podcast, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you guys, too.
Right on, my man. That was Keegan Bal, number 45 of your Vancouver Warriors, Evan. And like we said, it took Keegan a little longer to find his path to the National Lacrosse League, but not only did he find the path, like he's opened up like a 4-lane freeway for his career now with the last season and the start to this one. He's put people on notice that this guy can put the points up.
Yeah, and it sometimes just takes the right opportunity as well. You think about it, if there was no expansion, would there be a spot for him in the league? Maybe nobody would have given him a chance. And, it also came to a fact of you got a new GM in a new market, and we talked to Dan a month ago. He said, I've got very little. I've got to find these diamonds in the rough, guys that were passed over. And he goes and finds Keegan Bal and Jordan McBride.
Yeah.
And they both shoot the lights out, right?
Yeah, two guys that he's obviously very familiar with, right, with his time in New Westminster. And that was probably a pretty easy decision for him to make because he'd been around these guys for the last 5-6 years. And like I said, these guys just need a shot, and I'm gonna be the one to take that shot.
And, it's paid out dividends. He had like you said before, 14 points against the Wings there last year. Top performance of the entire season.
Yeah.
You don't expect that out of a guy that wasn't even in the league a year ago.
Crazy to think about, man. Crazy to think about when you put it in terms like that. So there was Keegan Bal. That means one more quarter to go here on Lax Class. We're going to have it for you on the other side. News and notes, under review, and who you got all coming up here still on episode 58 of Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Associated Labels and Packaging is in the business of creating first impressions. They'll help you reflect your company values accurately by offering solutions that fit your product needs. With the latest in printing technology and over 35 years of experience, Associated Labels and Packaging is the perfect fit for your company to take your labels and packaging to the next level.
Hey, this is Jamie Dowick, owner and GM of the Toronto Rock. You're listening to Lax Class, your go-to source for all things NLL and box lacrosse. Growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back, lacrosse fans. Episode 58 is into the fourth quarter. It is a big fourth quarter lined up here. Now, who you got? Only 2 games on the docket here, but lots of news and notes to get to, and a pretty interesting under review, I would say. But first, I want to say thank you to our friends at Associated Labels and Packaging for continuing their sponsorship of the podcast here. Associated-labels.com. Check them out. They got their daily blog going, as I always like to mention. And they're starting a new series, which is pretty cool. A series of staff interviews to give you a better idea of the people and culture behind Associated Labels and Packaging. And, of course, they start off with the big boss, the president of Associated Labels and Packaging, Sean Ashworth. And he's got a great story from when he started, when it was his dad's company as a 12-year-old boy, working out in the back, sweeping the floor, and then just kind of working his way through So he's essentially done every job there as he worked his way to the top. So he knows every facet of his business, which I think, Evan, always make for the best bosses.
No, in fact, I sometimes insist when I go to a new company because I try to deal with efficiencies and trying to work out where some of the inefficiencies are, and I constantly ask, can you sit me in on a meeting with this, or can I learn what this person does? Just because that's how you actually run the most efficient and the most profitable business at the end of the day.
Yeah, job shadowing is super underrated. More companies should definitely do it. Let's get in to our, well, not so new feature anymore, Evan, but it's still new to us. It's G. Wilson Construction under review.
It's time for Under Review. Each week, Jake and Evan answer a listener's question or break down an unusual call that happened in a game. The challenge flag has been thrown, so now it's time to take the matter under review.
And a thanks to my man, Don Andrews, for the little sound bite there that he did up over the weekend for us here to help with our brand new feature, G. Wilson Construction under review. And Evan, this one, an interesting one, as it has to deal with something that we saw. Oh, by the way, G. Wilson Construction, Evan, an award-winning firm with a single focus, building fine custom homes. And I talked to you about Blair and his philosophy and his company and how he advertises and doesn't advertise. We've kind of worked it out. He didn't get it to me in time for this week, but what Blair is going to do is going to draw something up. He wants to give, and check this out, Evan. Blair wants to give an opportunity to potentially some young lacrosse players, because I'm assuming that some of those guys listen to the podcast, a chance to start a career in the construction business, which is, I think, just that's how he wants to advertise in my podcast. He wants to offer work to young lacrosse players. Pretty cool.
And you think about it, lacrosse players need good jobs with understanding bosses when they're professional career, when they got to take off early for the weekend because they got a Thursday or Friday game. So why not a boss like that who loves the game and understands exactly how it works?
I think it is a beautiful new marriage that is just beginning to blossom here on Lax Class, Evan. Okay, under review, and what we're putting under review is what happened in Saskatchewan in the New England Black Wolf Rush game. Now, if you didn't see this, go back and check it out, but it is something that has crept its way into the game, which needs to be addressed, or, if you will, put under review here, Evan, and that is goaltenders, notice the inflection here, mucking the lacrosse ball in their crease. Explain this to me, Evan, and what we need to do to fix it.
Okay, so there's two situations this would happen. The less common is where a team's shorthanded, the ball's laying in the crease, and the goaltender doesn't possess the ball, but he puts his stick over top of it so that it would make it impossible for any forward to take the ball away from him without taking an interference penalty. But where the more common one, this is what happened in Saskatchewan, was that there's 35 seconds left in the quarter. They're going to try and muck the ball and just prevent Saskatchewan from even taking it. So until they get under 30 seconds, they can then pick the ball up, take their time out, go 6-on-5 for the last shot of the quarter. Right. Now, this is the problem with this, and that is I don't have as much of an issue if, you know, the ball got mucked into the corner, the team's taking off to get their defense on. The other team, you know, we're going to sit here and wait because you decided to let us take a few more seconds.
Yeah, you'll see players shield the ball, Evan. You'll see players go into the corner and kind of shield the ball and kill off the remaining 3-4 seconds of a shot clock. Just don't let the other team get possession, but I'm not going to pick this ball up. The problem that they're running into here, though, and I just want to kind of make this clear, is that after the shot clock has expired or the shot's been taken, nobody is picking up possession, but they're not allowing one team to pick up possession. But the game clock, so no shot clock is running, but the game clock is running.
Well, the shot clock would have been running from the prior possession, and it hasn't reset yet, right? So the difference is the ball's in the corner. The opposition has the ability to go and get that ball or force the other team to take possession of it early. When it's in the crease, the goaltender's got his stick over top of it, but not possessing it.
Right.
This is the problem. And this is where things got complicated, is that we've seen this 2 or 3 times already this season, is that, in this case, I think it was Robert Church went and tried to swipe underneath the stick and get it, right?
Yes.
And they blew the play dead. They just called it a crease violation and gave New England the ball. Now, what they're supposed to be in the other situation, though, they actually called goaltender interference on it.
Crease
and
play.
Here's then this is in a different game they did this. Now, here's the thing. If that goaltender has his stick over the ball, but he's not possessing it, what's supposed to happen is the shot clock has begun, your possession has begun, your 8 seconds has begun, and so is your 4 seconds to get the ball out of the crease.
So if you have the
and
ability,
that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, if you have the ability to pick the ball up and you're just hovering your stick over it, you're saying that the shot clock, the 8-second count should all begin. If you can just sit there and pick up the ball, then the clock should begin. And it was interesting because when this happened in Saskatchewan, until Church actually took a swipe standing outside the crease and took a swipe at the ball inside the crease, the whistle didn't go, but the game clock was running, but the shot clock wasn't running. And then they stopped play down because I think it went to a TV timeout or something happened, or the team, New England called timeout. So the officials had a chance to get together and then talk it over. And while they were talking it over, and we know that the refs are all mic'd up now, Chris Williams said that to the other official, I can't remember his name, but said, this was in the memo that was sent out, this scenario right here. Now, he didn't go into detail about what the memo entailed and how the call was supposed to go and why the call was supposed to be made, but this is obviously something that Brian Lemon and the league and the officials have been aware of, that this is starting to creep into the game and need to have a solution for it. So it's obviously been addressed. So what they did at that point, Evan, is they took off, I want to say 5 seconds off the shot clock as well. So I don't think that the 8-second count went against them, but I do think they took time off the shot clock for them. And also let's remember that you have 4 seconds to get the ball out of your crease as well. And if the goalie's just hovering his stick over the ball, not allowing anyone to pick it up, that 4-second count should start as well to deter this type of thing from happening.
Yes, according to what I've heard about that league memo, the 4-second clock also now starts. Now, what they did in this particular case was they had 30.3 seconds left. They set the shot clock at 25 coming out of the timeout. So New England didn't have perfect last possession on their last possession quarter because of the mucking the ball ahead of time.
No, but according to that math, though, Evan, if they took 5 seconds off the shot clock, that's longer than 4 seconds. So that should have been not getting the ball out of your crease violation there on New England, right? If that's
yes, it should have.
Okay, so
it should have been possession Saskatchewan if that's the case.
Yeah, and then they would have had 3 seconds to get the ball from their crease, or at the top of their crease anyway, when they called the timeout, because 5 seconds would have been gone off the 8-second violation to get it over center.
But then I believe they actually did call crease interference or something like that and gave them possession at the midway line.
Okay. So I think it's probably – so we've seen this sort of thing start to creep its way into the summer game, and now it's starting to creep its way into the pro game. And it looks like it's been on notice. They've addressed it, and I would expect this rule to continue to evolve and be tweaked as we go along here, and until every official is calling it the proper way that the rule is written.
Every official, they're still not quite sure exactly how.
And I don't know. I don't think I am either. I don't think I am either. But this is the evolution of sport, though, right? This is what happens. The envelope gets pushed. Somebody wants to push a boundary or push a rule to the extreme and see what they can get. And this is just a new tactic. And I think it's a brilliant one as far as the players go, to think like this, okay, if I don't play this ball, the 30-second clock's not going to reset, but the game clock's running, and then I can get final possession. That's how it all kind of started, right? Because everybody wants final possession with no shot clock.
Right. The only difference, though, is when the ball's in the crease is that the offensive team has no way of pressuring or recovering the ball, unlike if it was in the corner and they were trying to do the same thing.
Unless they just step into the crease or smack the ball or hit the goalie stick, and then you run the risk of a penalty. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and it looks like it sounds like it has been, and I think it's going to be a bit of a work in progress. But that right there, I don't even know what rule that is, Evan, but we just put it right there under review, presented by G. Wilson Construction. How about that?
As confusing as that may sound, so just so everybody's aware, is that the second that the goaltender has basically full coverage of the ball, the 4 seconds, the 8 seconds, and the shot clock are all supposed to run.
There you go.
At that point.
And let's hope that is the case, because I mean, what they're doing, it's kind of like cheating, but it's smart cheating. You know what I mean? Like, if you're allowed to do it, why wouldn't you do it? But you shouldn't be allowed to do it, so don't do it. That's pretty much where that ends. Up next, Evan, it's Who You Got, and a light week 4 in the National Lacrosse League, just 2 games. We are both tied now in the standings, 7-3. Again, I did better than you last week. Just to refresh your memory, I went 3-1. You only went 2-2. So we're tied now, and you get to host Who You Got this week. Take it away, Evan Cheminot.
Well, just a light schedule, and maybe I'll say this just before we get started. The Who You Got for this week, there's actually going to be a third tie break, because there's only 2 games. There's going to be so many people with a 2-0 record one way or another that we're going to have a third tie break to try and break the tie without it being the first person in the door.
Oh, wait, Evan, wait a second. I forgot. We got to do this before we start Who You Got. It's time for Stampede Tax. Who You Got? Evan, who you got?
Jake, who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got? Who ya got?
Who you got? Stampede Tack and Western Wear sponsoring Who You Got. More than just a boot store, they carry a wide range of outerwear, jean jackets, including the all-time classic Storm Ride. I could have used that back in Saskatoon this weekend. Great for the outdoors and great for fashion as well. They ship Canada-wide. Still time to get a Storm Rider under the Christmas tree. Stampede.ca. Thanks for sponsoring Who You Got.
Okay. But you got a Blundstone toque from Kevin, did you not?
I believe I did. Yes, I did.
And
yes.
Where was it? Where was it when I before you even got on the plane? I texted you a photo of the weather report.
Yeah. I underestimated. I underestimated things. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a cold, chilly weekend. All right, enough. Enough weather talk. Let's go.
So just 2 games this weekend. First one, well, it'll be fun for you. It's 3 p.m. your time. 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. The old Rochester Nighthawks hosting the new Rochester Nighthawks. Who you got?
Thunderbirds hosting the Nighthawks. Old against new. Man, Halifax got off to that good start in their home opener. Rochester got off to a very tough start in their home opener. I think Halifax is going to be that much better than Rochester. I think it's going to be a tighter game. Man, look for Deep Fryer to get the start for the Jayhawks this week, I would think. Can Halifax go 2-0? I got to take the Thunderbirds at home here. I think that trip to Halifax, playing in Halifax, I think is going to be a big advantage for the Thunderbirds all year long. That showed against the Riptide. Let's see if it shows against the Nighthawks. Give me Halifax.
Give me Halifax too, and maybe I'm a little more confident than you are in this one, because Halifax had a phenomenal first quarter and then kind of let things just kind of slowly ride. Rochester still needs time to find out who they are. I think Halifax wins. I actually think they win big in this one. So on to the other side of the continent. Colorado headed into Calgary without Dane Doby. Who you got?
Yeah, no Dane Doby, that's for sure. He will not play until February, late February for the MVP. I still think Calgary at home, they get out to the 1-0 start. They've been sitting for 2 weeks. That may work against them, but also may work for them. I think they actually got together in Calgary last week for a formal practice. They got the entire team together. They didn't want to go 2 weeks not being together. So I just think Calgary's a better team. I just think they're a better team, and I'm taking the Roughnecks.
The Dane Doby factor makes this a tougher call. In that, it's not one side's lopsidedly better than the other. You've got two goaltenders in this game, either of which could steal the game.
Yeah, you're right.
Easily.
You're right, man. Still taking the Roughnecks.
But I'm not going to take the Mammoth in this one. I'm taking the Roughnecks at home. But this is not an easy call in my books.
Yeah, all right. I think it's just so you can host again next week. Pretty chicken move there,
that's
chicken move.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I've already put my picks into the chart already for the week, so I'm not changing them.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, make sure that you get your picks in. Again, if you want to stay anonymous, do that. Make up an email, make up a fake name, or just tell us when you sign up, I don't want to be mentioned, or if you win, I don't want to be mentioned. You can still get the prizes. No problem there. We want to include everybody for who you got every single week, and it'll always be the top pinned tweet on our Twitter feed. We usually crank it out at least once a day throughout the day to make sure that everybody's getting a chance to see it and sign up. So keep an eye out for it and check your emails, sign up for who you got, and let's have some fun all season long. Last segment coming here, Evan. News and notes. We got a bunch of news and notes here. Some stuff I didn't even get to I didn't even get to last week. Remember our friends back there in Nanaimo that had the issue in the provincials? It was our F1 week about an illegal player and not signing a score sheet, and the kid was suspended, and then they got stripped of a game. You remember that one?
I remember it well.
So, all that went down. Now that league has a brand new board of governors. They have a brand new commissioner, Rob Cook out of Ladner. Junior B2 league is in much better hands leading into this summer, and couldn't be happier to hear it. And I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too hard here, Evan, but I think a little pressure on Lax Class got things cleaned up a little bit at the junior B2 level over there on the island.
We've had a few of those, I think especially the black mesh.
Oh, yes. The black nets.
I'm still stunned to this day that the WLA rule change comes after we complain about it for about 10 minutes.
And you know what? Report cards will be back come May or so. So look forward to that. But we put the report cards away for the NLL season, and we'll bring them back out for summer ball. Speaking of summer ball, what, Evan?
I was going to say, speaking of one of those two teams with the black mesh issue, our good friend Paul Horn is the new.
Well, I was just about to get to that, man. I was just about to get to that. Yes, our old friend Paul Horn, loyal listener here on Lax Class. Congratulations goes out to him. He's been named the brand new president of the Senior A New Westminster Salmon Bellies. Ray Porcelato will be the general manager, and the former president and GM, Dan Richardson, his brother John, will be the assistant general manager. That's the new leadership group in New West. And listen, for all the time that Dan was in New Westminster as the president and general manager, he did some sensational things with that team and that city, really re-engaging the fan base there. Had some fabulous ideas and really got New Westminster back on board with the Bellies in his time. And I think Paul Horn and Ray and John are going to continue that legacy. They're going to have a fresh look and some new ideas there, and it may be a little bit different than what Dan did, but I think it's going to be just as successful. I like this group here, and they're going to come in with a new vision and a lot of energy, and I look forward to the future for the Fish.
I really look forward to it too, and yeah, Paul's won the hat before. He's in almost instantaneously, so he follows this podcast.
Big fan of the podcast.
Yeah.
No. He was actually the team photographer back in my playing days, believe it or not, Evan. Anyways, let's move on. The NLL game of the week.
Should we be asking him if he got some interesting photos?
Well, he might actually. I should ask him that. I don't have too many.
Paul, you got my email address. You know where to send them.
I don't have too many old bellies photos from back in the day. I'd like to see some of those actually. So yeah, feel free to lob that up. Game of the week, Evan. The NLL announcing pretty much right after we posted our podcast last week that they are going to offer up a free NLL game of the week. It's going to air on Facebook. It's going to air on Twitter and air on BR Live for free. And it just so happens that New England and Saskatchewan last week was the first game of the week, and I got to be a part of it.
You get to be a part of two more of them, actually. That's the other interesting part.
Yeah.
I really like this idea when they did it before. I really like it now. If we don't have a television deal, we got to have a way for people, whether it's they're a regular BR subscriber, but they're not a part of the NLL package, or just the person that in Canada that wants to see a game, check it out. They have, about 250,000 viewers at any one given point in time when they had this on before, so I don't see why it wouldn't work again.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge for the casual viewer to stumble by and go, "Oh, what do we got here?" And all of a sudden they become an NLL fan. So look forward to that. Check it out each week. Calgary, Colorado is the game of the week this week. Grant Farhall, my man Ryan Ballantyne will be on the call from the Saddle Dome. Calgary getting a new building, by the way, right downtown, Evan. That's going to be about a decade away, but it's happening in Calgary. They're getting a new arena down there. What else do we got here on news and notes? Extreme Lacrosse League is coming back for another season. This has featured the likes of Del Bianco, Garrett Billings, Dane Doby, a part of this thing a year ago. Coming back again, bigger and better. Extreme Lacrosse League firing back up for our former friends. Well, still our friends, just former sponsors here on Lax Class. Extreme Threads starting the Extreme Lax League year 2. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and when you have out east, you got the Arena Lacrosse League. At least you got some form of alternative winter league program that players can go to.
Yeah, this is for Junior B, Junior A, Senior B, Senior A, pro players to get themselves ready in kind of the dog days of fall, October, November, and get themselves ready for December. And for guys that aren't in the NLL to kind of keep going through until January, February when training starts for the summer season. So it really kind of fills and feeds a need for box lacrosse through the winter months here in BC.
Yeah, and we need more and more of these programs. We were talking, even this weekend in Saskatchewan, as to how we have nothing other than a sport court in an indoor soccer stadium.
Yeah, well, hey.
So we need a league here like that too in the future to keep things going along.
Yep.
Well,
we're working on it. We're working on it one day at a time, Evan. We're going to make it happen. Me, you, and maybe one other guy. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to keep the pressure on the boss there, and hopefully things will start to happen here, Evan. A few more news and notes to get to. By now, no appeal for Dane Doby. He is sitting the 6 games. The Roughnecks, the PA, Doby have all said that hey, we're taking the 6 and we're moving on. So that's the end of that situation right there. My Junior Adnax, Evan, naming new coaches for the Coquitlam Junior Adnax, a name that'll be familiar to many National Lacrosse League fans. Kyle Sorensen named the head coach, and his assistant, the former head coach of the Burnaby Senior Lakers, and a good friend of mine who's been on the show. We spent years coaching together as well. Pete Tellis will be his assistant. So Sorensen, the head man, Pete Tellis, the assistant there in Coquitlam. I really like these 2 hires.
It's amazing, actually, how many current and just recently departed players are now Junior A head coaches all across Canada. It's astounding.
It's really the way that it goes, man. Just guys give back, and that's how the circle of lacrosse continues to evolve, Evan. We talked about Poulin's 2,000 saves for the Roughnecks and the Swarm. How about my man, dangerous Dan Dawson here, Evan. 1,400 points in the National Lacrosse League.
I believe he's either fourth or fifth all-time in scoring, but he's first amongst righties. So that's what makes it maybe even a little more astounding. And we had that discussion at one point. Why is it that most of the top 10 are lefties?
It's a very precarious stat, isn't it? That is
the only thing that,
yeah. I don't know.
I think part of it is, though, is that if you're on the left side, you're seeing the ball more often.
Are you, though? Are you?
You're seeing it in a scoring position more often.
I don't know, man. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know why that would be the case. We can discuss that another day. Let's just say this: the best right-handed box lacrosse player of all time just hit 1,400 points in the National Lacrosse League. We can agree on that.
And did it against his former team.
There you go. One of his former teams, anyway. Two more things to cover here. We mentioned it to Keegan Bal. We even teased it earlier in that. If you haven't heard by now, the Vancouver Warriors and the San Diego Seals are going to play an outdoor National Lacrosse League game on a runway in San Diego. This is about as cool as it gets.
Well, first off, the players should now have no difficulty making it to the game because they could just, we're going to take a plane right here and we're going to go home, right? But,
they're at the airport.
Yeah, but this is quite the undertaking because not only do you got to close down a runway for several days to put the arena up and get everything ready and get all the stands in, you then have a whole bunch of fans coming on to a military base.
Yeah, let's make that clear. This isn't going down at the San Diego airport. This is going down at the San Diego Marine Military Base.
Right. And so the amount of work it's going to take, I got to applaud Steve Govett. When the idea of an outdoor game was, I was thinking it's going to go to the arena just outside their normal arena, but
nope.
And Air Force Base, like, wow.
Yeah, this is sports history about to go down. Like, I remember a college basketball game going down on an aircraft carrier out at sea 4 or 5 years ago, but I don't think it's certainly never in lacrosse, and I don't know if in professional sports as a whole has something like this taken place. This is groundbreaking stuff, and I can't wait to see it. And I don't know, I know all the season ticket holders are invited. That might be the only way that you get a ticket to this game if you're not a serviceman or woman, or maybe a close personal friend of Mr. Joe Tsai or Steve Govett. I don't know.
Reason we just need to go buy a season ticket in San Diego. Right?
Well, hey.
For the free hotel rooms in Vegas and, this.
It's almost worth it, man. I'm not even joking.
Oh, if I could make it to both games, I probably would be picking up the phone and buying a season ticket.
Yeah. I'm going to make it to one, I think, and I'm still leaning Vegas, but this San Diego thing is going to be about as cool as it gets. I can't wait to see how it plays out, and they'll do that against our friends here from the Vancouver Warriors. So, lastly, I want to end on this. I've talked about Sohan Gill in the last couple of shows, and his celebration of life will take place this Wednesday at the Burnaby Firefighters Club out there in Burnaby from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Firefighters Club, and I'm expecting a massive turnout. I know we had a chance to meet Sean Williams, the new president of the Canadian Lacrosse Association, the former president of the Saskatchewan Lacrosse Association, after the game in Saskatoon this weekend. He's coming out, and there's going to be people from across the country, and pretty much the entire BC lacrosse community is going to be there to celebrate the life and times of one Sohan Gill, who was about as beloved as you're going to find as far as the lacrosse man goes.
And actually a very nice tribute, too, on the game and on the BR feed.
That's good. Is that right off the top? Because I haven't been back to watch that.
It's right off the top.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back and watch that pretty much right now, because that is the end of episode 58 here of Lacrosse Classified. Another jam-packed show. I know we go long here, folks, and if you're breaking this up into 2 segments, God bless you. I just thank you for listening. And the way we look at it here, folks, if we feel like it's good content, we're going to go as long as we go regardless. So I feel like we're pumping out the goods here, Evan, and I don't want to cut it short just to kind of keep this thing around an hour. If we go an hour and a half, so be it. Like that's kind of the way I feel.
I'd love to get it down, but when you keep having good conversations and tough topics and things like that, it's going to take a while. And I hate to say it, we're going to get some weeks pretty soon where there's going to be 7 games going on that week.
Oh, my goodness.
Exactly. It's kind of like if we don't go a little longer, it's going to be, here's the score, here's who scored a few goals, and that's all we're going to say about the game. So,
or we can just, maybe we start cranking this thing out a couple of times a week. Who knows? That's always a possibility. Anyways, we'll discuss that maybe next week on episode number 59. Thanks for playing Who You Got. Thanks for listening to Lacrosse Classified. Thanks to our sponsors, Associated Labels and Packaging, the Vancouver Warriors, Stampede Tack and Western Wear, Pure Vital Labs, G. Wilson Construction, all for sponsoring the podcast here. Callum Crawford and Keegan Bal for coming on the program. Don't forget to follow us on social media. I am at PXP, the number 4 Sports. Evan is at Shemlax, just crossed 1,000 followers. He's super happy about it. The show is at Lax Class or Lacrosse Classified on Instagram. And, of course, you gotta subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can subscribe to Lacrosse Classified. I highly recommend that service. All right, that's it. Episode 58 is done. For the fastest game on 2 feet and for the creator, enjoy the games, everybody.